Hello everyone and welcome to this session on cloud computing. Now let's go ahead by looking at the agenda. So first of all, we will go ahead and understand what cloud computing is and then discuss the different cloud models which are out there. After that, we will discussing the different three types of service models, and by the end of this session, I guess you all will be clear with that cloud computing is and how exactly cloud can be used. So let's start with the first topic, which is introduction to cloud computing. Before we start, let's watch this video to understand what is cloud computing and why it is so important nowadays. So let's see that and discuss after, okay?
Cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources via the internet, with pay-as-you-go pricing. Instead of buying, owning, and maintaining physical data centers and servers, you can access technology services such as computing power, storage, and databases on an as-needed basis from a cloud provider like Amazon Web Services. Organizations of every type, size, and industry are using the cloud for a wide variety of use cases, such as data backup, disaster recovery, email, virtual desktops, software development and testing, big data analytics, and customer-facing web applications. For example, healthcare companies are using the cloud to develop more personalized treatments for patients. Financial services companies are using the cloud to power real-time fraud detection and prevention. And video game makers are using the cloud to deliver online games to millions of players around the world. With cloud computing, your business can become more agile, reduce costs, instantly scale, and deploy globally in minutes. Cloud computing gives you instant access to a broad range of technologies so you can innovate faster and build nearly anything you can imagine. From infrastructure services such as compute, storage, and databases, to Internet of Things, machine learning, data analytics, and much more. You can deploy technology services in a matter of minutes and get from idea to implementation several orders of magnitude faster than before. This gives you the freedom to experiment and test new ideas to differentiate customer experiences and transform your business, such as adding machine learning and intelligence to your applications in order to personalize experiences for your customers and improve their engagement. You don't need to make large upfront investments in hardware and overpay for capacity you don't use. Instead, you can trade capital expense for variable expense and only pay for IT as you consume it. With cloud computing, you access resources from the cloud in real time as they're needed. You can scale these resources up and down to grow or shrink capacity instantly as your business needs change. Cloud computing also makes it easy to expand to new regions and deploy globally in minutes. For example, Amazon Web Services has infrastructure all over the world, so you're able to deploy your application in multiple physical locations in just a few clicks. Putting applications in closer proximity to end users reduces latency and improves their experience. No matter your location, size, or industry, the cloud frees you from managing infrastructure and data centers, so you can focus on what matters most to your business.
So, as we saw today, is cloud computing in the most generic sense. It's actually the use of remote server on the internet for doing specific tasks, right, guys? So, for example, you can do all your work in your personal computer or in your laptop, and you can be thinking, why would I need a remote computer to do my work when I have my own laptop or PC, right, guys? So everything will be clear as we move along, but cloud computing is actually a technology where what you can do is you can work on remote computers, and these remote computers are not owned by you. But what you can do is you can rent this server for companies like Amazon, from companies like Google, from companies like Microsoft, and then you can do your work on them. Okay, so this is what cloud computing is in the most generic sense. Now, if I were to give you an example, why would you need a remote computer? Why can't do anything or everything in your own computers? So let's take an example over here of a mobile application. So let's say you develop a mobile application which is something like Instagram, right? Now, what to do with Instagram? So you developed on your local system. You did all the coding. You have encrypted all the features which you think would appeal a lot of user base. Okay. And now what you want to do is you want to make it available to people, or you want to make it available on the internet. So what you do, you register yourself on a Google Play Store, you register yourself on application store, and now people start downloading your application, right? Now they have your application on their profiles and they want to use it. Actually, the data has to come from somewhere, right? So that data will actually come from a server that you will be creating on a cloud platform. Now, how you create such a cloud platform? How do you create such a server where you know all your data can be fed to millions of people around the world who will be using your application? Actually, the kind of computing part and the kind of memory and the kind of hard disk that you have already is going to be state of the art. And that's where you should realize that you shouldn't or you will not actually using your own system or your laptops. And that is where you would need a little more powerful computer. Now you would say, okay, if I need a powerful computer, why can't just buy a powerful computer, right? So actually, you can do that, but that could amount to a lot of investment from your side. So you would need some amount of money to buy a server and then whole share application. And as you all know, they are not cheap. So it was very expensive in nature. And if let's say you want to serve an audience of sound of million people, if you would need easily around an investment of 40 to 50 Canadian dollars based on the service that you are gonna buy based on 24/7 electricity that you need to incorporate based on the internet, then you would require to such a large user base to keeping all the things. You would need a lot of money, right, guys? But when you use a cloud computing, all you do is you rent the server, the electricity, the internet, the security. Everything is managed by the cloud provider. Now you might be thinking, okay, so if I can rent a server and with all these features like electricity, internet, and so on, being covered in the rent, it is going to be super high, right, guys? But the rent is as cheap as like $0.005 per hour. So this is kind of pricing that cloud computing gives you. And this kind of service that you can get with this kind of pricing is like 1 GB server with one core CPU. Okay, guys? This was a brief about what cloud computing is and why companies are adopting this cloud model. This is because this is very user friendly for especially startup, which basically don't have that much of investment in their hands, or for business owner who are renting or who are starting off this business new. Who don't have this kind of an investment where they can serve a lot of people from a single computers. So they pay only around 10 to 115 Canadian dollars a month, and then they get the start of the art infrastructure where they don't have to worry about the internet. They don't have to worry about electricity and so on. Right, guys? Okay. Cloud computing has many benefits. So this video summarizes the main top benefits of cloud computing. So let's watch it and come back.
The benefits of cloud computing. Cost. Cloud computing eliminates the capital expense of buying hardware and software and setting up and running on-site data centers, the racks of servers, the round-the-clock electricity for power and cooling, the IT experts for managing the infrastructure. It all adds up pretty quickly. Speed. Most cloud computing services are provided self-service and on-demand, so even vast amounts of computing resources can be provisioned in minutes, typically with just a few mouse clicks, giving businesses a lot of flexibility and taking the pressure off of capacity planning. Global scale. The benefits of cloud computing services include the ability to scale elastically. In cloud speak, that means delivering the right amount of IT resources. For example, more or less computing power, storage, bandwidth, right when it is needed and from the right geographic location. Productivity. On-site data centers typically require a lot of racking and stacking, hardware setup, software patching, and other time-consuming IT management chores. Cloud computing removes the need for many of these tasks, so IT teams can spend time on achieving more important business goals. Performance. The biggest cloud computing services run on a worldwide network of secure data centers, which are regularly upgraded to the latest generation of fast and efficient computing hardware. This offers several benefits over a single corporate data center, including reduced network latency for applications and greater economies of scale. Security. Many cloud providers offer a broad set of policies, technologies, and controls that strengthen your security posture overall, helping protect your data, apps, and infrastructure from potential threats.
So as we saw, there are a lot of advantages to cloud computing, right? So the first advantage is it requires little or no investment from your area, which is kind of cool, right, guys? Second, you don't have to worry about is the hardware that you have the latest or it is performing well. Is there any bottleneck with respect to the hardware or not, right? It is the internet working or not everything is going to be managed by the cloud provider, and you can now just focus on application development. And the third is the most important fact that it requires less workforce. First, like I said, it is super popular among startups, super popular among young companies, and the reason it is popular, not only it is saving a lot of cost, but it accounts for a lesser or a minimum workforce as well, right, guys? And that's why many companies are adopting or shifting to a cloud computing. So, as any technology, cloud computing has some risks as well as benefits. So let's see this video first and then discuss about why we have many risks about cloud computing. Okay?
Cloud computing. Security risks. Since cloud uses the internet-related risks such as malware, man-in-the-middle attacks, and eavesdropping can be experienced. Privacy issues. The availability of information can be breached when using cloud computing. Your data can be accessed by unauthorized entities or even modified. Loss of control. Using some services of cloud computing means that you lose control over some entities. The entities dictate on how they'll be used since cloud uses the on-demand service model. Internet reliance. If you don't have access to the internet, you also lose access to the cloud. Cloud provider reliability. Since you don't have control over the cloud computing entities, you have to rely fully on the cloud provider. If anything happens to your cloud provider, you will also be affected. This dependency can affect productivity and also efficiency. Should your company move your data infrastructure to the cloud or keep it on-premise? With the advancement of the internet and increased network bandwidth, businesses should take advantage of cloud computing. In the long run, cloud computing is cost-effective as compared to on-premise. It reduces the overall capital expenditure while maximizing efficiency and productivity. Without a doubt, the positives are outweighing the negatives, but each company has different requirements and different comfort zones. It's up to you to decide if this is a good option for your business, or whether having an in-house IT department is a wiser choice.
Okay, as we watched, there are many risks of cloud computing. First, loss of cloud data and server is one of the main risks. Data in the cloud and server are accessed over the internet. So this actually means the speed at which you can access a cloud server and data are limited by the speed of your internet. Connection. If your connection to the internet is lost, your access to cloud data and server is also lost. The server or network as a cloud server provider and can also go down for a number of reasons. Again, when this happens, you lose access to cloud data and servers. However, the good news is cloud server provider have server level like agreement called server level agreements. Most of cloud providers guarantee 99.9% of uptime. If they fail to meet this server level agreement, you will be compensated. Another point is data security. When you store your business, employees, and customer data in the cloud, you are placing your complete trust on the cloud server provider to secure and safeguard your data. Cloud server provider like Microsoft Azure and Amazon Web Server invest lots of resources and money to implement and improve cloud security. But still, by placing your data in the cloud as opposed to in-house, you are opening up security risks. Also, everyone, including hackers, know if they can manage to hack into cloud server provider, they will have access to huge amount of data. So as we speak, there are hundreds of thousands of cyber attacks going on around the world. Take a look at this Bitdefender webpage. You can see the real-time cyber threat map. Every second, in fact, every few milliseconds, there is an attempted cyber attack. You can see the time, attack type, attack country, and the target country. So the point that I'm trying to make is by placing your data in the cloud, you are relying on the cloud server provider to protect your data, and that fact is your data is only as secure as your cloud server provider. However, best practice like encryption, auditing, reviewing, and rotating access key can reduce the security risk to some extent. Right, guys? Compliance is another important risk that must be considered when moving to cloud. If it is your own personal data, like emails or photos, for example, you don't have to worry about complaints and legal risks. However, it is an organization, and if it deals with financial data, healthcare data, credit card data, or any regulated data for that matter by law, the organization is responsible for protecting the data. It also needs to know where the data is stored, who is allowed to access, and the measures that are put in place to protect. There are many local and international regulations like GDPR and HIPAA and so on. By moving to the cloud, you are relying on the cloud server provider to protect data and adhere to this local and international regulation. Your company may still be liable if the cloud server provider fails to live up to the task, and if there is a data breach, cloud in general reduce upfront infrastructure costs, and it's pay as you go. And it is pay as you go model provide more flexibility. So depending on the traffic, the amount of cloud resources you consume, the plan you have chosen, the way you scale resources up and down, determine the overall price you pay. Okay. Sometimes this overall price tag may be higher than what you have anticipated. Most cloud server providers like Amazon Web Server, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform provide cost calculators, and it is a good idea to use this calculation to get an estimate of what you will be paying. You may also experiment different options and plans until you find what works best for you. There are several things that you can do to reduce your cloud costs. For example, try not to over provision cloud resources. If you think performance will be an issue, you can always auto scale up resources based on certain pre-configured threshold limits, and don't forget to auto scale down as well. Otherwise, you will pay, or you will be end up paying for resources that are not being used. Along the same lines, automate the process to start or to stop your server instances. This ensures you are paying when you are not using them. Okay. You can also create alarms that notify cloud spending. It's always good to keep these risks in mind before moving to the cloud. The good news is there are different types of cloud, but best practice and proven techniques that can reduce some of these risks. Okay, guys? Now we will talk about some cloud products. There are a lot of products available in cloud right now, which you are using every day, but you don't realize. For example, the most known example that I can give you over here is Google Drive. So Google Drive is a place where you can store a lot of files. You can do Google Documents, you can do Google Sheets, then you can do a lot of other things as well. And all of these products are hosted on the cloud. And that's why you can share all your work with your colleagues, with your friends, with just the click of a button. Another example, guys, might be using is Netflix. So Netflix is again a cloud, also the largest e-commerce company in the world. Amazon is also hosted in a cloud. Just trying a video, which is again another video streaming platform, is also hosted in the cloud, right, guys? So these are the most popular products that you might be using today and not rely it. Okay, guys? Okay,